Okay, so now we're going to talk about voids and reconciliation. So voids are where something has gone wrong. Customer didn't like the dish. The kitchen messed up making it. Maybe a dish was dropped. We have to take that into account and compare that to our kitchen production that we didn't talked about in our last video, right? And then reconciliation, we're going to talk about comparing what the front of the house or the servers sold compared to what the kitchen made. So we can make sure that everybody's honest and we can control our production better, right? So when no errors occur during service, dishes sold equals the numbers available for sale minus what's left over, right? So what the POS system tells us are we sold compared to what's left over in the kitchen, right? So errors sometimes occur and they should be recorded on a food mishap report or a void sheet. We should be recording all sorts of information like who did it, what was it, why it happened, time, date, any information that can help us avoid having these errors, right? If you remember back to our section, we actually calculated errors per cover, right? So here we're just making sure that if something happened to a dish, we've recorded it and we recorded why. So hopefully we can fix that from happening again. If somebody tripped over a extension cord as they were carrying a plate out, we can make sure that we do something to remove that extension cord, for example, right? If we just keep doing the same thing over and over again, we're going to keep having mishaps and lose food, right? So voids occur when food is dropped on the floor, the customer rejects it for improper cooking, customers dislike, taste, or cook ruins it and removes it from circulation. Basically anything that happens to that dish that now the customer won't pay for it, right? So we need to record those, right? Every void must be accounted for to ensure it isn't being stolen. When we get to the point where we're comparing our kitchen production to what went out of the kitchen to what was charged, if we don't have voids for the variances, then we're going to assume that somebody ate it or, somebody forgot to write something down. Somebody did something wrong, right? So we need to make sure that only managers or a supervisor or someone like that can verify voids, right? Well, most POS systems can have, you can hit a void button, but you can't do it unless you're a manager, right? Or you need a specific code to be able to void something so that somebody just can't order a hamburger and void it and then go eat the hamburger, right? So it's about having controls in place to make sure that we've legitimately accounted for the food that went out of the kitchen and we got revenue back for it. So reasons for voids, well, we mentioned a few of them, right? But if we have lots of voids coming from a single person, we might need to train them better, or perhaps they are doing something nefarious and, getting free staff meals or something like that, right? If we have a lot of voids across our entire staffing, then maybe we don't have enough cooks in the kitchen, or maybe we don't have enough servers at the front, right? If we have lots of voids that aren't particularly focused on one or two individuals, then we've got to think that maybe we have some scheduling issues, right? So those are voids. Those need to be accounted for. And the end of service, we need to compare what we made and what went out of the kitchen to what was charged to the guests, right? So we need to be able to confirm portions prepared by the kitchen are accounted for as sales, voids, or leftovers, right? And we'll see that in the table that I've got coming up here. So if we look at the table here, if we look up to in the blue here, this is basically the table we had in the last video, up into the leftovers, right? So we had 13 cheesecakes available, we had 17 mousses, 19 brulees, and 16 pecan pies, right? So the kitchen now, this part here is the kitchen, they're going to see what do we have left over, right? So we had one leftover piece of cake, we had 2 mousses, 5 brulees, and 1 pie. So then we can calculate how many portions we actually sent out or left the kitchen. So we had 12 cakes leave the kitchen, 15 mousses, 14 brulees, and 5 pies. Now, I might want to make note of this 5 extra brulees and see if maybe we didn't forecast properly. 5 isn't crazy bad when we sold 19, right? Or we sold 14, so 5 isn't a huge problem. We can use those in our production tomorrow, right? So this is the kitchen side in blue here. Now from the front of the house, out of their POS system is going to give us this number, right? 12 cakes sold, 14 mousses, 12 brulees, and 15 pies. Now, total portions consumed, this here, whoops, where'd my pen go? Blue. Total portions consumed comes down here, right? So in the sales report from the POS system, we had 0 voids on cakes. We had 1 mousse that was voided and 1 brulee that was voided. So total output from POS system is 14 plus 1 is 15, right? 12 plus 1 is 13, 15 plus 0 is 15, right? So now we compare these two, the 12 that came out of the POS system and the 12 portions consumed from the kitchen gives us a difference of 0, right? Same with the mousse, 15, 15. Now we've got a problem here. Only 13 creme brulees were accounted for in the POS system, but 14 left the kitchen. So we have 1 outstanding here that we don't know what happened to. And I mean, the textbook says, see Susie. Well, we don't know if it's Susie or if it's Frank or it's Bob or it's Jim, right? What this tells us is we had a creme brulee leave the kitchen, but we don't know where the money where it went. We didn't get any revenue for it. So 1 brulee, maybe not a big issue, but this is a very small sampling of our overall menu. There's only 4 items here. If this is happening with multiple items on our menu, then we've got some issues that we need to look and we need to research and figure out, why are we have creme brulees missing? Why do we have other things missing? Did Susie drop it and just forgot to get the void from the manager? Did Susie go and have a creme brulee in the back corner because she was hungry? I don't know. The point of this is now we need to check, because if we have too many of these missing items, then we're losing revenue. We're putting the cost for the food, but we're not getting the revenue back. Okay. So, couple notes, info on the forms from the kitchen production sheet, void sheet, POS system, guest checks, and physical inventory from kitchen stations. Our total output should match our portions consumed from the kitchen, right? And if there's any discrepancy, we need to look into that and figure out what's going on. Why is there a discrepancy, right? Did they sell? Sometimes it happens. They sold more than left the kitchen, right? Maybe we counted wrong in the kitchen. Maybe we gave them too many portions, right? I don't know. That's what sparks the investigation, right? If we have an employee that's regularly forgetting to enter voids or checks missing from the same employee, maybe a sign that they're stealing or they're giving an extra dish. Like Susie could have been giving that creme brulee to a regular customer free and then getting an extra tip or pocketing the cash portion of that, right? Maybe we need to remove that individual, or maybe it's just a training issue that they didn't know that they had to get a void, right? POS systems will record and track which servers ordered each dish, so missing checks are not an issue. Missing food is easier to track to a specific server. Every server in your establishment should have their own swipe card or their own code to get into the POS system, and they should not trade those back and forth, so that if there's an issue, you can go back to the correct server to find out where the issue was. Okay, so this is why it's important to have your kitchen production, know how much to make, know how much you're giving the front of the house, and then you compare that on a daily basis or a meal period basis to know if we're missing food or missing revenue or not.